Hey, thanks for joining this edition of The Third Rail. Was I right or wrong on saying the word genocide? If you've been watching any of my videos, I had a video a few weeks ago talking about the time that I tried to get an American missionary who is primarily reaching Jewish Americans to come on to be interviewed, to ask about his work. He watched one of my videos and said that he saw me use the word genocide. And since, well, there is nobody committing genocide, and since I used the word, he took that as saying I can't be on your program. And I've discussed that in the previous video. I'm not going to rehash all of that now. So, was I right or wrong to use the word genocide? Well, let me just say yes and no. All right? I like to be definite about things. Let me show you this clip from Facebook. It's a gentleman that I know. He says, what is being pushed back upon is the actual ignorant narrative, what does it say? That Israel is committing genocide. That's preposterous. Now, I disagree with his analogy of comparing what's going on in Israel to World War II. I think there's a major difference there, and some of which I'll explain. But, he raised the question. I did use the word genocide, and I got thinking about it. And by the way, folks, I'm not always right. Well, I'm sorry, I confess it. I'm not always right. And neither are you, by the way. So I began thinking about it and the use of the word genocide, and I thought, well, what does the word mean? All right, so let's look here at what the United Nations says it means. And you can read that. You want to pause the video to read it, that's fine. But it says that killing members of a group, serious bodily and mental harm to members of a group, so forth and so on. Well, that's interesting. Now, I think you could make a case that is what Israel is doing in Gaza. Oh, by the way, let's get up to speed here. This is October 27th, 2025. We have peace in the Middle East now. All right? Now, we're going to ignore the killing that's still going on there because we're having peace in the Middle East. So, that's one definition, the United Nations definition, and you could argue that, yeah, that would maybe apply to what was going on in Gaza. So let's look at another definition. It's from Webster's, I think. Yeah. The deliberate and systematic destruction of a racial, political, or cultural group. That's genocide. That's the definition. Is that what was happening in Gaza? Now, of course, it's not happening now. We have peace, all right? So you could say that maybe that applies to what was going on there. It's a loose definition. Here's my thought. I was wrong to use the word genocide in the way that they're using it. I don't believe that's what people would generally mean it to be. So I was wrong. You could say I was right to a degree, but really I was wrong in saying that, yeah, they were committing just atrocious acts against innocent people by the thousands. Yeah, we could argue that. But genocide, no. Here's the reason that it's not genocide. Well, wait a minute before we get into that. Let's look at something else here. Others say it's genocide, not just me. There are, and I don't have the videos, but you can find them. I have video of one Israeli leader calling it a genocide. I mean, it's everywhere. Everybody's using the term. Let's look at this here. All right, we've got this article here. Israeli lawmaker urges world to act to prevent genocide in the West Bank. And you can go down. He's a member of the Knesset. Is that how you pronounce that? Urges the international community not to wait for another genocide. I guess there's already been one. This one is in the West Bank. Now, folks, if you go back and look at some of my earlier videos that it started over 2 years ago, I said then that what was going on in Gaza was just the beginning. The West Bank was next, and it is. It is happening even at a higher level of infiltration, destruction by Israel into the people that live in the West Bank. So let's go back and let's see. Yeah, you've waited too long before intervening to stop the genocide in Gaza. Don't wait for a similar scenario in the West Bank because we are getting close to that, this gentleman said. And so, yeah. So that's something. And then we've got this article here that says many American Jews sharply disapprove of Israel's conduct of the war in Gaza, with 61% saying Israel has committed war crimes, and about 4 in 10 saying the country is guilty of genocide against the Palestinians. Now, they use the word genocide and war crimes. Now, I think that I've not used that particular word, and war crimes. Speaking of war crimes, no charge for this. No, it's free. But right now, our own country is committing war crimes by killing people on boats in Venezuela. All right? That is a war crime. They have not been tried. They have not been found guilty of anything. They are being systematically murdered. All right? So, the United States of America has committed many war crimes. Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to this website here, another website. This is on X. Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. It sounds inconceivable, but it's the truth. Israel is taking deliberate, coordinated action to destroy the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Now that sort of goes back to that definition of Israel, of genocide. And so many people use the word. So I use the word because everybody else is using the word. So this guy says, well, I can't come on and talk about witnessing and trying to win Jewish Americans to Christ because you used the word genocide. And of course, in another video, I described that he tried to convince me otherwise, that they were not. So anyway, and I sort of agree with him. So now let's get to the reason why I was wrong. Now let me pull this up. First, let's look at this picture. It's interesting. Found this online. Now the green, that is the country of Palestine, the land called Palestine. And you can see here the year, 1947. The white is the Jewish settlements. These are white, generally white European Jews that are coming in at that time. And then here's a mistake that I don't agree with. The legend says the white is Jewish settlements. The green is Palestinian land. No, it's not Palestinian land. It's the land called Palestine. There is no country called Palestine. And let me get to my next point here. If I can find it. Where is it? There it is. Okay, let's cut to this. All right. Now here's my point. Yes, I was wrong to call it a genocide. Why? Because we are wrong to call these people Palestinians. All right, here's the Wikipedia page for the member states of the United Nations. All right, let's scroll down here. And you start, they're in alphabetical order. Afghanistan. We'll go on down. Let's see. Scrolling down. Now here's Israel, 11 May 1949. All right, let's scroll on down to the P's to find the country of Palestine. Palestine, here we go. Norway, Oman, Pala, P-A-K-H-I-J-K-L, Pakistan, Palu, Palestine should be right in here somewhere. I don't see it. I don't see a country called Palestine. Well, how are they called Palestinians? Huh? Well, they're not Palestinians. I've always said this. This is part of the media. This is part of the deception. I laugh. I think of Yasser Arafat, who was Egyptian, fighting for the Palestinians. He was Egyptian. He wasn't even an Arab. Egyptians are commonly called Arabs. That's another thing altogether. I like to figure that out, how it is they became grouped into the Arab nation when they're distinctly different. Anyway, there is no country called Palestine. There is no such person as a Palestinian. People who live in the land of Palestine are just Arabs, primarily, who live in the land of Palestine. They are not Palestinians. There is no country called Palestine. Hence, if we say that Palestinians were a distinct member of a country called Palestine that was recognized by international borders and treaties, then yes, I think we could use the word genocide to describe what Israel was doing, trying to wipe out Palestinians. But since they are not Palestinian, they're Arabs, they could kill every Arab in the West Bank and Gaza. It would not make one iota of a dent in the population of the Arab nation. So no, it is not a genocide of the Arab nation, which is what the people living there are. They're Arabs. They're not Palestinians. There is no such thing as a Palestinian. All right, now I know 95% of the people seeing this would disagree with that. Help yourself, folks. But there is no such country. If you think there is, live in your own delusion. You've been brainwashed, and that's all it is. Let's bring this up. Chuck Baldwin, if you don't know who he is, fine, you're better off. But Chuck has a lot of good things. I agree with some of what he says, but he's missing the boat by marking off the Jew, saying God is done with them. And we see what's going on here in the Middle East, and we can see how this plays into biblical scripture and prophecy of what's going to happen in the future. And the people that live in Israel, the Israelites, the Jews, if that's all of what they are helping to fulfill that. But why don't these people who live there in settlement camps, they use that phrase, because they're suffering so? Well, why don't they leave? You know, no other Arab nation will take them. Why? Because they are cannon fodder. If you don't know what cannon fodder is, look it up. Sort of a military term. They're being sacrificed. They're there to be a thorn in the flesh of the Israelites that live there, the Jews. That's why no other country will take them out. They want them there to be that thorn. And that has to happen, I think, to generate the struggles and the continuing battles and wars that will lead eventually up to the end times as described in the book of Revelation, as we understand the tribulation and the man of sin, the Antichrist, and all these things, the future wars that will happen. We see how close they were coming. So a lot of talk. Apologize for that. How you like my shirt, by the way? This is, I'm celebrating, it's a Volkswagen bus shirt. This is National Recognized Volkswagen Buses Day. I just invented that day. So that's it. I was wrong on using the word genocide, but if I went with the rest of the world, I would have been right to use it. Probably justified. Regardless, it's absolutely horrible. And the other thing, and I've said this before time and time again, Christians who should know better applaud these actions by the Israelites. The murder, the destruction, the death. I just don't understand it. There's something wrong. Anyway, so was I right or wrong? I was wrong. All right, that's it. That's all I've got. Later.